So the question is, why do we create? Now, that word can be brought up into many different subjects, like why do we create art? Why do we create emotions? Why do we create this? Why do we create that? The whole word of create is to make something. Now, that something can be good, that something can be bad. When we think about like Thomas Edison creating the light bulb, Um, he created it because he wanted a source of light. He wanted, because the factory workers, when they would come home, it was dark and they were, like, they couldn't see where they were going, so he was like, is there a way that I can control fire into something and make it been able to turn on and off? Like, this fire, this light. And after like hundred tries, he finally created the light bulb. So why do we create? It's because we want to either improve or destroy the world. Yes, create can be bad or good. Like when you can think of all these torture methods, they were created to cause pain, to cause torture. Now I don't know who created them, but they did it for a reason, to cause pain, a negative reason. Now, when we go to Thomas Edison, the printing press, all those fabulous things, they were made to improve the world, which some people may say that they also, like the creation of technology, creation of social media. It's an improvement, but it's also a setback, a negative, because bullying now is more easy because you're hidden behind the screen. Now, the whole question, why do you create? Basically, like I said, it's to make something, to invoke emotion. I create my art to invoke emotion, to let my creative flow. I make stories to let my creative flow, just to put something out there, to show people a little bit of my personality without me explaining it directly to you. So, looking at my art, you can be like, that person's creative, that person's like colorful, or when you look at my art that's more creepy and stuff, you'd be like, that person is more um, maybe has a vivid imagination, maybe they had more nightmares when they were a kid, when in reality, why we create could also be deceiving, because when you look at my, I might bring up some images, but when you look at my art where it's these monsters, you might be like, that person's um, messed up in the head. When I kinda am, but not in that context. But it can be deceiving, because when you look at that, you're like, that person is maybe a goth, dark, depressing, when in reality, I am a go person. I'm very, like, look at my room. It's very colorful, very bright. But when you look at some of my art, you might think that person is a vampire. But, so just why do we create? We create music to invoke emotion. We create to bring a feeling. It's either to either positively or negatively affect yourself, or positively and negatively affect the world. And sometimes you're not even trying to do that. Like sometimes you might just be like, oh, I'm gonna create this product because I'm bored. But it ends up improving or causing chaos. Um, like when, just more examples, like as you can see, I'm like really stumped creating this video. It's for an assignment. It's something that I had to do. Um, we also create because we're forced to, or we have to do it, or we choose to do it. It's something we just do. Whether that be to invoke emotion, like I said before, to improve, to cause chaos, we just do it because we can. I mean, to be honest, we create because we can. Now, I can't create matter. But if I could, I probably would, because I could. Now, that can also be in a negative context, like, why did you create like these people, like when we go to like plastic and stuff and all this pollution? Why did they create it? Well, the plastic pollution wasn't the cause, but it's like because they needed a solution. Or like when you think of like something that's, or like a stupid product, like $1 million water bottle. Why did you create it? Because I can. Because I'm rich. Like all these people, like they create it because they can. Like that can be positive. Like when you think of like all these world leaders creating like these books, followings. It also doesn't have to be something. It can just be like you can create a following. Like you can create an idea. Like just the idea that like when, my God, who was it? Isaac Newton. He created the idea of gravity. He didn't create gravity itself. The apple fell on his head and he was like, wow, the earth like pulls. But he didn't create gravity. He just created the idea that the law of gravity. I'm pretty sure it's Newton. But sometimes it's an idea, sometimes it's not a physical object. Like, you can create a following, like, oh my goodness, what's her name? It's like Station, I don't, Caddy Wagon? Oh my goodness. But she was the leader of the suffrage movement for women. Now, she wasn't creating suffrage for women. Women, like, were always, I mean, not able to vote, but they physically had the capability. Like, they had hands, they could vote, but she created the movement so they would allow people to vote. Also, like, creating suffrage to vote. I mean, it was always there. They physically were able to do it, not through the law, but they had hands, they had a brain, they were able to write down who to vote. But it wasn't until someone stood up and said, we deserve it, that it was created. So, something that was always there isn't created until someone puts it up. So, like, think of like all these laws, like, for example, same sex marriage. They were physically able to get married, like, just like a straight couple, they're able to get married. Like, they both have minds. They're two people are able to get married because they're humans. Like, they're physically able. Now, due to the law, they weren't able. But, more recent times, the creation of same-sex marriage, now allowing it, its creation, and now they're able to. They always could, but it was the law that was stopping. So, yeah, like create a following. Like they created like the LGBTQ community. It was always there. People were always gay, always bi, always trans, but it wasn't until someone brought people together to create, and that is for a positive reason. Now, if we look back at like we can say the Nazis, um, people always had, well, not everyone, but they were always able to like say, oh, white supremacy. But it wasn't until World War II and like the civil rights movement that white supremacies were created. The Nazis were created. Now they were always there, but the word was created. Also, words can be created. Words can be created out of thin air, like that plate. It's always been a plate, but someone created the word plate. It could be called thingohopper if they just changed the word. But we create it to give it a meaning, to give it context. I'm just rambling now. But we create something either to prove, to invoke emotion. The whole why do we create is just a question with multiple answers. But it can all be summed up is to do something. Whether that to be just to do it because you're bored, to do it to create a following, to improve something like the creation of all the women coming together to create suffrage, to brought together the suffrage movement, that creation, to get to write the vote. To invoke emotion, like with artwork, music, theater. To invoke emotion, whether that be happy, sad, anger. Um, so why do we create? We create to do something. Like what you create may create something else. Like my art may create emotion. But why do we create? It's to do. So, um, yeah, that's the main point, and that's what I would say. Why do we create? We create to do. To do dot dot dot. To do what exactly? Well, that's up to you. That's why you create. You create to do, whether that's to, well, it could be to do, to make, but something, you're creating something to do something, whether that be to invoke emotion, to cause something, to cause anger, to cause this, whether that be to make because you are bored and you just want something to do. So why do we create? It's because we want to do something. And that's exactly why do we create. It's because we want to do something. Thank you. Bye bye.